And we're live with the West Coast Sports Debacle. My name is Jeremiah Hamilton.
I'm David Love.
And we're back again on June 11th.
Yeah.
It's the 11th on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And Mondays in sports you would usually think are quite bland and boring. But today, we're going to try to make it a little bit more exciting for you guys. We actually are not going to be throwing any graphics on these videos on these days anymore because guess what? It messes with the sound, and you guys seem to like just being able to see us and hear us. I thought that I thought we were good enough looking that we could probably get by with just being the front and center piece. But then as time went on, I started realizing as I looked in a mirror, I realized that I'm actually not a great looking individual. So
you finally found your mirror.
Yeah. I apparently I was looking at a Lifetime catalog and the picture was George Clooney the whole time. So I just thought I was George Clooney for a long time. I was like, man, I'm getting really old for being 30 and I have gray hairs and everything. And then my wife told me I didn't have gray hair. So I had to look in the mirror and I found out, oh my God, I look terrible. So we're going to make sure that
rabbit hole we go.
Yeah. We always trail off for you guys in conversation, but we're actually just trying to stall to give you guys time to come on because we like to have live chats with you guys. We like to have discussions. We'd rather do that than talk between me and David and just go in circles like we normally do without you guys watching us because that's what happens. Tangents upon tangents upon tangents.
And they just keep going.
Upon tangents like that
in a circle.
Not a square. Yeah. If you go check out the last trivia match that we just did too, that's exactly what happened. It was hilarious. That was one of the funniest things to have happen recently.
It was good to be a part of, to be honest.
Yeah, it was just so much fun. Like honestly, you couldn't be upset with playing or like I had a rough time, but you have to watch the video to understand why it was a rough time. But moving on. So this weekend we had some big event go on here in California, and then it actually ended in Cleveland, Ohio. And the big event was
the NBA Finals.
Golden State Warriors sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I know a lot of our audience mostly is football fans, but let's humor us. Humor us, okay? Like, honestly, we're trying to see how this well, let's see here. So basically, the best part about this is if my wife's watching live, I can usually see all of her conversations online. So, trap to you ladies out there, if you're going to talk about your husbands behind their back, it's probably not wise to do it on their computers with you logged in on the other side. Because, yes, it makes me feel like crap. Yes. But it's okay. We're moving on. Thank you for blasting me. I have now blasted you, and hopefully you get the fact that that's probably not wise to do anymore. Moving on. So, LeBron James.
Yep.
What did you think about the injury?
The alleged injury?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe it was an injury.
So all right, you call it an alleged injury, but it's still an injury nonetheless. We're going to talk about that. So how many of you out in the audience think that that was a faked injury? And how many of you think that it was actually a legitimate injury that he suffered at his own fault? Now, see, that's what I believe happened. I believe that there was a little bit of idiocracy, and he did punch the board. And he had to deal with it for the rest of the series. Now, David alluded to it earlier. Why did he not tell anybody about it sooner? Why would you tell? Why wouldn't you tell anybody?
To me, that's kind of selfish and kind of arrogant in a sense, where he's basically saying, by not telling anybody, including his medical staff, by doing this, he's basically saying that me with a broken hand is better than these guys healthy, and come on, man. I understand you're LeBron James, but obviously it didn't work out the way you thought. So you may have wanted to rethought about that and let these other guys come in and play. Maybe be a supporting role, don't get me wrong, but to say, no, I'm better than you with a broken hand, man. Like, come on, man. Get out of your head.
Well, all right, yeah. But he still played great those last 3 games. Just throwing that out there.
Right.
With the broken hand. But I think that one of the reasons why he was able to still get into the paint was because he didn't announce the injury right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they probably figured it out by game 4. That's why it was such a big blowout in that last game compared to the first 3 games.
Well, the second one was a pretty big blowout.
Yeah, and that was the first time his hand had been hurt, so he was just getting used to that, and he was settling. He wasn't taking jump shots. He was passing the ball a lot. Everybody was saying that he wasn't playing as aggressive. He still scored a lot of points in the game, but it was mostly just him getting to the hoop and using his left hand instead of his right. Mm-hmm. I noticed that, but it wasn't like something that I could just say, oh, he's going to his left a lot. No, maybe they're forcing him to his left because he's a right-handed player, it was weak hand. But that's just me playing basketball when I was a kid. Like, if they were a right-handed person, I try to force them to their left. If they're a left-handed person, I try to force them to their right. You kind of just play what their strengths and weaknesses are against them, usually in basketball. Mm-hmm. Leverage, defending, hand up.
And that's really not even just a basketball thing. Like, that's just a sports thing in general, where, that's why a lot of the times, like, if a player is injured going into a game, they won't announce if he's healthy or injured until, like, the last second, so they don't have time to prepare for or against him. But I don't know. I feel like if he was able to perform well in the games 2 and 3, even fairly decent in game 4, with a broken hand, I think if you were to allow these other players to come in and give him, say a couple minutes, a quarter of rest more than usual, I think that it really would have helped him to stay at his peak level of performance.
Yeah, well, I don't think there was enough depth on this team to really help him, to be honest. So
there's a couple of good players, though. Kyle Korver's not bad.
Kyle Korver's like a tier, like a fringe player. Like, that guy, I remember getting his rookie card, and I thought, even then at that point, who is this guy? And then when he got on the Bulls, who's this guy? Then he got on the Hawks. Who's this guy? And Cleveland?
Well, I know Kyle Korver is a pretty good 3-point shooter. I personally think he is, but when you compare him to people in Golden State, obviously it's no comparison there. But I mean, Golden State's a notch above virtually every other team in the NBA, so it's kind of hard to make that comparison. But I think he's an okay support player. I do think that they need another piece or two to come in and make a bigger impact for Cleveland to win another championship again. But I don't know. Like,
I don't think that they'll be back in the championship for a long time. I think LeBron's leaving. If he leaves, and Cleveland's not even an afterthought.
I
could see him. All right, like we talked about it before with Kawhi, and what I think that I want Kawhi to do. I want him to stay in San Antonio, but with LeBron, I would like him to move to San Antonio too. I think it'd be a good pairing. Your Olympic coach just happens to be Greg Popovich. Gets along really well with Popovich. He's talked about stability, having a good general manager. R.C. Buford's a great general manager. Now, don't get me wrong, Lakers fans, I wouldn't mind seeing him, the second coming of Magic Johnson, basically show up in L.A. too. That would not be an issue on my part at all. I just think that for him to beat the Golden State Warriors in any way, shape, or form, he's going to have to play with a team like that, where they can structure the team around him to make him the most versatile player on the court.
I agree that I kind of foresee something like that happening. Maybe pair him with someone like DeBrow or something like that. But I definitely think he's going to want to stay in the East simply because he doesn't want to have to battle Golden State the entire year.
I actually go against that. I think that the reason why he would leave and go west was so that his finals record would be preserved. So if he doesn't beat them in the semifinals,
okay,
then he doesn't have then he has a shoe in whoever he plays in the East. He's gonna beat the team that he has to in the Western Conference Finals so that his overall finals record will be preserved. So that's why I say a West Coast team, even Houston would be a choice that I would take. So like San Antonio, Houston, or LA, those are teams that are realistically kind of in the equation for a LeBron like that.
Well, my question is, why would you even want to preserve that record? Because it's not very good to begin with.
Because that's exactly the problem. Like if you're already 3-6 in finals appearances, right? And let's say that you finally beat the Warriors, right, in the Western Conference Finals. Then you're 4-6, right? Go to the East Coast. They joins up with, let's say, the Sixers, right? He joins up with the Sixers. They get to the finals. They're playing against the same Golden State team, and Golden State twallops them again. What? Now he's 3-7 in the finals. Right. Then he comes back the next year, and then Anthony Davis signs with Golden State, and then it's even worse because now they're just a complete all-star team playing against, a bunch of scraps over in the Eastern Coast. So he's gonna have to move west, I think, in order to build a super team again in the first place.
What about if he lives in Cleveland? He's lived in Cleveland for quite a while. He doesn't mind living in a cold area. What if he goes a little bit more north and makes the East super team in Toronto? With DeRozan. I think that would be a great team.
Isn't DeRozan with Boston?
Is he?
I thought DeRozan was Boston. That was
time out.
Yeah, look that up. But seriously, I think I get what you're saying. Toronto, they're a good team, but he's going to fill in Vince Carter's spot on that team?
I feel like they don't even necessarily have to assign just a specific spot for people.
Oh, so there is a DeRozan. It's DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
Okay, there's two DeRozans in the NBA.
Oh, I didn't know about the other one.
Yeah, but that's why I was getting confused.
Right. But so you have DeRozan, you have LeBron, and then I can't think of the third cat that they have over there, but he's pretty solid. The guard. Anyways, it's gonna come to me, and I'm gonna be like, blah.
Me and Toronto are not I don't follow Toronto.
But basically, they were one of the best teams in the East already. So now you add LeBron onto that roster and actually having a mega East team versus a mega West team. Then somewhere in the middle you have Houston and San Antonio, and I think it's gonna make for a great season.
His businesses are all in America; they're not in Canada.
Okay. Why
would you go to Canada to play for a Raptors team that doesn't even have enough money probably to bring you there in the first place? You're going to have to take money cut to go there. When you could go to a big market team like the Lakers, the Knicks, the Celtics, those teams all would have cap to figure out how to get him on the team. You can't just all of a sudden throw him into Toronto's market and expect them to pick that up. San Antonio has several championships. That's why they're a small market team that can compete, is because with all those championships that they've won, they've had accumulated enough overall cap total to where they can compete with some of these bigger teams. That's why I suggested him, is if he's going to take less money, it's got to be with a team like the Spurs, per se, with the players and coaches that he'll get to play with. Like a Kawhi Leonard, a LaMarcus Aldridge, those players are extremely talented. So DeJounte Murray, which I've talked about before, great player too. So, and I think Paul Gasol's still on the roster right now too. So there's some good players on that roster.
No, there's definitely some good players on that roster. But if you think about LeBron, he's a ball hog. With that many people involved on one roster, I think it would be very tense to figure out who's going to play what role.
No, that's where he needs to play basketball. Stop putting it on your shoulders. No, it's fine. He can. He's getting older anyways. He can't. He's starting to understand, especially I think after this finals, he could really understand. oh crap, I am getting too old for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't keep driving through and beating the hell out of myself. I got my eye poked. You know, I fought through for 50 points and still couldn't win a game. The Spurs, who used to do the same stuff to me as Golden State, where they'd pass the ball around me and make me feel like an idiot, and then all of a sudden drain threes in my face, just like Golden State. Wait a minute. How do I beat Golden State? I drain threes like Golden State. I get in a system that kills it for the three. Pop. You know, he can be one setting screens and then pop out and hit three-pointers now instead of beat the guy off the ball every time. Give it to little DeJounte Murray or, you know, Danny Green and let him create, you know, or Kawhi Leonard. Imagine a pick and roll with LaMarcus Aldridge and LeBron with Kawhi as a spot-up shooter.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's annihilation because then you have to collapse on Kawhi. He pumps. He drives to the rim. Now you have to collapse on him. Now you have LeBron and LaMarcus. Think about the rotation fits they would have. You wouldn't even really need a point guard because you'd have so many rotation fits with just that roster out there. And with a solid big man, they just dominate them, you know?
Yeah. I certainly agree with you that, you know, in theory, it sounds like a fantastic idea. I just don't think in actuality
it's going to work out.
Right. But I mean, if they could actually find a way, then, you know, I'm all for him going to San Antonio or Houston, you know, something like that. I think that'd be great, but I don't know.
Well, that's pretty much it for that topic. Like I said, tell us what you guys think about that. And David, you want to go ahead and talk about our next topic for today?
Sure. And actually, I didn't even think about it when I put the jersey on, but we're going to be talking about a Patriot, Julian Edelman. So he got suspended for 4 games for PED use. We kind of talked about it off camera a few days ago. You were saying something I actually haven't heard before. You want to go ahead and talk about that?
All right. Once again, I'm no major athletic doctor, but I do know what they use PEDs for too in the medical field is to repair muscles after they've had issues or broken bones, you know, to recuperate the process faster so they can get back into shape quicker. Now, not necessarily use steroids to the point where it's a long-term and everlasting process. It's a short time, just like with lungs, using steroids to help with the lungs. They can use it for muscles after broken injuries, especially for athletes, to get them back up to pace. What I think may have possibly ended up happening is that the Patriots staff may have assumed too soon that that had already cleared his system, put him into circulation. So they're going to run a secondary test more than likely at that point, which he will be clear of, and the suspension will probably be null and void. But this does happen. Steroids is a real thing, guys. And it's not just used to bulk up guys and Frank Thomas the heck out of people or Barry Bonds.
Mark McGuire.
Sometimes they use it in the actual physical therapy or medical world to speed up these athletes. Now, do I think it's wrong and unethical? Yes. But once again, it's stuff that happens behind the scenes that you and me don't know about. Remember Peyton Manning? A couple of years back. Didn't he get in trouble for PEDs?
I'm not too sure. I remember hearing something about it.
It was when his back surgery and everything had gone on. And that was right before he came back and played some of the best football of his life. So the repaired muscle and rebuilding a muscle that he probably hadn't had in a while because he was getting lazier as a quarterback in the NFL, being the most decorated quarterback in regular season play,
right?
You know, and taking some of the shots he did to get repaired, they may have used that same approach with him even. So now, am I accusing any of these people of taking steroids flat out? I don't have any proof.
Right, you're not going to put someone's character on blast.
Exactly, but I'm saying that this is something that happens with injured players. I never actually got to go through that myself because when I got hurt, it was the end of Jeremiah's sports career as we know it. Like, that's the end of it. There's no going back.
Did it ever begin?
Yeah, it did. It did.
That's actually how we met, was through sports.
So it existed. There was a time when I did play, but nowadays I would be probably the worst person. I'd be a decent jump shooter in a basketball game, but I couldn't run around and play as good defense as I used to. And
do we need to get you into those wheelchair games?
I think so. Okay. Probably. That's probably where I'm going to be best at now.
But Julian Edelman is actually going to appeal the suspension.
Like I said, it only makes sense.
But my question is, you were talking about making speed up the process better so we can get back into action.
Mm-hmm.
He tore his, was it ACL or PCL? He blew out his knee.
Yeah.
In preseason last year.
Yeah.
So he's had almost a full 12 months to come back from this injury, where I've known many athletes come back from a lot less than that. So you would think, why speed up the process if you already had plenty of time to recover?
Well, maybe not so much as you thought. Maybe they tried to push the process during the season to try to get him back for the postseason. And you can re-injure stuff during that time. A lot of people don't understand that in the NFL, the reason why some guys will stay on the injured reserve longer than they're expected to is because of a bigger, more glaring issue. For instance, I feel like Donald Penn for the Oakland Raiders is going to be that injury, the one that plagues on longer than everybody's expecting because of the placement of his injury. And I felt like the same way for Edelman last year when they had that going on. So I could see it all going down.
Fournette had something like that last year too, when they were talking about how he's good to go, and then next thing you know, 5 minutes before game time or whatever it was, they said he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, well, and because going through the process and proving that you're good to go can re-injure some of those glaring injuries. Like, that's kind of what happened exactly with me. This is why I can understand injuries to an extent too, the way I can, is because when I hurt my knee, it was a sprained ACL, so it wasn't like, or what is it, a ligament. It's a, yeah, same, exactly. It's a ligament. Whatever.
You're not a doctor.
Exactly. I'm not a doctor. But when you hurt that part, it just stays kind of hurting. Like, you don't really get better for a while. And then when you start to recuperate, it feels off. It feels loose. It doesn't feel normal. So you got to kind of work your way into it. And a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, it's just discomfort. That's what the doctor said I was going to feel. So they'll push through it, and you can go worse. It can go worse. Because I pushed myself through a full week of practice to try to get myself back right after the injury, like literally a week afterwards. Got out on the field, and it buckled on me again when I tried to cut up field to try to dive into the end zone, and all it did was just leave me on my face diving forward, and coach yelling at me like, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, great coaches, you know. Numb nuts.
They didn't stick around after you left.
No. Which was funny because it's like he called all of us numb nuts and then got fired right afterwards. And I hope that guy watches this show eventually so he can kind of see like what hell he's created. Because I'm now, instead of playing sports, like you denied me my right. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Not vindictive at all?
No, not at all. I will find you. No.
Are you Italian?
I don't know. Like the mob just coming after you. Whatever. We've talked on long enough. Thank you guys for listening and watching this video even after we're done. As you can see, we're drenched in sweat.
Oh, yeah.
We've given you our 100. Give us your 100 with a thumbs up and subscribing down below.
Yep. Click the bell notification. I'm not really sure where it's at, but
it's next to the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Wherever the subscribe button is, it's a little bell next to it. Just click that thing. It'll tell you when we're talking.
Yeah. We go live a couple times a week. So there's
2 right now. We have 2 live shows. West Coast Sports Debacle here on Mondays. And then on Saturday, it's usually the Oakland Raiders live talk too. Now, Rams fans, we will have a new video up for you today and another fantasy video going up on Friday. Fantasy Fridays are still going on. Trivia is on Sundays. Star Wars on Tuesdays. Me working on Monday through Friday and every night, and my wife going nuts about it. So, like I said, if you guys can support us on Patreon, throw a little bit of money in our bank, and my wife might leave me alone a little bit.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Please.
Please
All right, guys.
help us.
Any
Please.
last moments or
Please.
messages? Oh, okay.
Please help. I'm Jeremiah.
David.
Let's go Sports Debacle.